Was a scene featuring Vision singing a rendition of the Coasters' Yakety Yak on your MCU wishlist?
You ain't gonna rock and roll no more. Yakety yak. Don't talk back.
Almost certainly not, but the two-part premiere of WandaVision effortlessly proves why it should have been. Marvel's first attempt at a sitcom is a delight, and much of that success is down to Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen's wonderful handling of its vintage-styled script. Right out the gate, WandaVision makes it clear that the show is a sitcom. Yes, there's also the tantalising mystery that S.W.O.R.D. may possibly be pulling the strings, but the majority of WandaVision's runtime, at least in these 2 episodes, is dedicated to situational comedy. Writers Jack Schaefer and Gretchen Enders provide some fantastic gags, despite working in what can sometimes feel like antiquated parameters due to the slavish replication of the 1950s and 60s settings. Vision's joke about chewing gum being for mastication, for example, had me howling, both at the wordplay and the old-school response from his friends.
Oh no, I don't do that.
The drunken robot performance that follows this, combined with the authentic Hanna-Barbera-style animations, only escalates the humour. Who'd have thought that the ethereal Paul Bettany from the Avengers could be such a natural comedian? Of the 2 episodes, the second is distinctly the funniest, as it spins fewer plates than the opening half hour, and thus can dedicate more of itself to Wanda and Vision's talent show ordeal. In contrast, the 50s set first scenario, in addition to being a loving homage to classics like I Love Lucy, does a lot of heavy lifting to get the show's rather meta concept off the ground. Through the use of a delightful theme tune and self-aware title cards that use the characters' names rather than their actors, it firmly establishes the show's false reality, generating a sense of unease around the vintage styling. The pair's confusion about the August 23rd calendar date helps provide further fuel for the mystery, while also doubling as a pretty typical sitcom plot to deliver the homage.
Well then tell me what's so important about today's date.
That so many elements in this first half hour are able to work on both the in-show universe and meta levels is quite a feat of writing. Perhaps the best example of this is Wanda's comment on Vision's indestructible head, which works as a cute housewife quip while also acting as dark dramatic irony, since we as viewers know that his head was torn apart by Thanos in Infinity War. While I do genuinely like the sitcom elements and admire the show's dedication to this unlikely format, the darker side of WandaVision is the thing that really pulls me through this opening act. Of particular note are the visual techniques the show uses to deal with this, such as splashes of bright red colour injected into the monochrome palette. This is rather striking when Dottie cuts her hand on broken glass, and her response is muted enough to maintain the mystery as to whether the people of Westview are in on the secret or not. The best example, however, comes in episode 1, when Mr. Hart begins to choke on his food. Director Matt Shakman switches from a classic multi-camera sitcom setup to a more dramatic single-camera format, bringing the lens right onto the dinner table and performing slow, ominous zooms. It's a fascinating way to break the fourth wall that's practically Lynchian in design, and serves as a promise that the show is darker than much of its twee material would suggest.
Stop it. Stop it. Stop it.
At this stage though, that's largely what it is, a promise. Because for as enjoyable and mysterious as this 2-part premiere is, it does feel all set up and very little in the form of plot development. This would feel less of a quibble if this premiere was not 2 distinct episodes, but was instead a single hour-long introduction. But as it stands, the second episode, while more amusing and more confident, treads almost identical ground to the first. The meta-level reveals present minimal advancement on episode 1's mystery cliffhanger, and so it does feel almost as if the show has stalled for a beat. We can only hope that this is a design decision to ensure the audience is comfortable with the high concept premise, which admittedly may require some bedding in for more casual viewers. The slow advancement of the more traditional MCU elements does provide space to introduce Wanda's pregnancy though, an event that seems to indicate that we should invest in the sitcom itself rather than pin all expectations on the underlying mystery to propel the show's plot. But what a mystery that is. At the end of episode 1, we're presented with a mysterious observer watching WandaVision, surrounded by equipment displaying the S.W.O.R.D. logo. Seemingly teased for inclusion in the MCU at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home, the Sentient World Observation and Response Department, or whatever it stands for in the MCU, is one of Marvel's key organizations in the comic books, and essentially operates as a cosmic counterpart to S.H.I.E.L.D. Quite exactly how that relates to Wanda and Vision is nowhere close to clear right now, least of all because neither of these characters come under the organization's typical jurisdiction in the comics. Furthermore, the presentation of S.W.O.R.D. so far depicts them in a much more sinister fashion than the comics, especially the agent surrounded by bees? Does S.W.O.R.D. have a bee division now? Additionally, while Wanda does appear to be trapped in a sweet television nightmare that reunites her with Vision, it does seem as if she has control over this reality, as highlighted by her ability to rewind the Sword Agent and add colour to the world. Is Wanda imprisoned, or is this a world of her own making? WandaVision may be keeping its cards held tight to its chest right now, but it has certainly provided enough mystery fuel to keep us engaged. WandaVision's two-part premiere provides a solid introduction to the MCU's most high-concept idea so far. The multiple layers of the project, the show within a show, the changing eras, the sinister forces behind it, have meant WandaVision has spent a whole 2 of its 9 episodes just placing its pieces on the board. As such, the plot hasn't quite notched into gear just yet, but already we are presented with several surprising and delightful ideas, all spearheaded by 2 actors who couldn't be better suited to the project. Episodes 1 and 2 may not be essential television, but they pave the way for what could well be essential Marvel. For more WandaVision, check out our breakdown of Scarlet Witch and Vision's MCU timeline and the show's latest trailer.